Just like music.
Welcome to Let's Talk Nation. I'm your man, Rod Love. And yeah, y'all see an empty chair sitting across the table from me, but the general will be here this evening. But you know what? We also have our executive producer, Doc Polite, who is going to weigh in for a little while as well. Lady Drina, let me step back for one quick second.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, but hold up. Just put the brakes on real quick.
Okay, brakes on.
Can you tell folk about how you've been honored?
Yeah, man, it's amazing. So,
but before you do that,
okay,
can I get an autograph?
Oh Lord, I wish.
Tell folks, Lady Drina, how you been honored.
So, this past couple weeks, I was asked to be featured in a movie, short film movie. And at first, I just thought I was interviewing the characters for the radio and just talking about the movie. But they said, no, we want to feature you in the movie. So we want you to do what you do, be yourself as the radio personality, be yourself and interview the character, which the character was called King Saul. So I had to interview the character as myself, and I am now in a movie.
Hey, so they didn't give you a pseudo name, none of that stuff?
No,
you went on
I am
Lady
Drina in the movie. Literally Lady Drina in the movie.
Hey, Doc Polite, how much you think that autograph worth if I get it right now?
I know. She on the road to the Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
Listen,
so she gonna get it all.
Speak it.
Speak it into existence,
please,
right?
Please speak it.
Hey, Lady Drina, man, that is big ups to you. We know that you've been winning awards throughout. Man, 2022.
Yeah.
How many awards did you get?
I think 6.
Man,
yeah, I think I got 6 awards in 2022.
Hey, but I'm serious. I do want my autograph.
But it's amazing when the producer calls you and say your name came up in conversation.
Hey, you ain't gonna get,
I'm like, what?
Hey, you're not gonna get mad when somebody pay me the right price and I give up that autograph, right?
Hey, listen, let's just give me a cut.
Give me a
little cut. That's all.
Hey, but big ups to you. Congratulations. That's
Thank
big
you,
news.
guys. That is huge.
And that was shot here?
It was shot here. I shot it right here. So what I did was, instead of me taking it all for myself, I added WOKB into the mix. And so when you see the clip, you're going to also see WOKB 1680 and 100.7 logo in that clip.
Boy, I tell you.
I want to make sure, and it was aired in Birmingham, Alabama this past weekend. They had 2 showings of it in Birmingham, Alabama. And it was a shock to everybody because I never told anyone that I was in the movie. And so my phone started blowing up. They're like, oh my God, you're in the movie.
Man, hey, on the real, Lady Drina, that is something big now. Come on now.
It is. And it's big for all of us. And that's the thing that I love.
Can me and the general kind of like get in the background in your next movie and just either, stand up there like bodyguards or something?
Listen, man, we all WOKB in here. So let's all do it. We can do a WOKB movie.
Hey, and we got a whole hey, and you know what? We got a lot of other backup stars that's signing in. We got First Lady, I don't know if I say First Lady General Jackson or First Lady Jackson. I see Mr. Cal Stubbs done logged in. Oh, and you know what? We got Mother from Duval County, Mother Jackson.
Duval. You got to do it now.
Hey, the whole family here tonight. But man, I tell you, Greg, man, we got us a movie star up in here, man.
I see that, man. I saw the post and I was like, look here, our sister doing this thing. She's doing this thing.
And it's funny. I didn't say a word. And so since everybody started calling me, they were like, you need to make a post. You need to say something. So I said, okay, I'll say something.
Because you're right. You tell everything else.
I know.
Why you ain't tell that?
I don't know.
Hey, Greg, it's like that. What they say? Go run tell that, right?
Yeah, run tell that. You ain't run tell that.
Right. But I'm excited. It's amazing.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, but listen, for those who are hearing these 2 voices, you're tuned in to 2 of the most influential voices in Central Florida on Monday Night Radio, Brother Love and Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo, guaranteed to raise your IQ 10 to 15 points. But tonight, Brother Love, because we were on Monica May's point of view, I think we're gonna raise it to 17 to 19 points tonight. How about that?
Hey man, you know what? I'm ready to rock and roll, man. And once again, Greg, I'm glad you went ahead and aired that out, man. Was that some fun this Sunday, man?
No, absolutely. But before I get that,
oh, well, hold up. You got to tell people who they listening to.
I just did.
Oh,
I forgot to say. If you want to be a part of tonight's conversation, all you have to do hit 407-894-1680. Again, that's 407-894-1680. Brother Love, let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Hey, Greg, man, you know, we got our executive producer, man, that's chiming in tonight. I
see it with a suit jacket on. I see you, Doc. You clean. You clean. I see you. Hey, you saw I defended your honor yesterday, right?
About what?
It must have been too early for Brother Love, because Brother Love saying we ain't never sound this good and look this good. I said, hold on. I said, I ain't gonna let you do that.
Hey, that slipped past me. I
said, Doc polite listen, I ain't gonna let you do that to yourself.
Hey, Doc, he did that to me, man.
I have to rub it in. Y'all know I'm retired. I don't get up that time of morning.
That was pretty early.
Yeah, but it was good. You guys did a phenomenal job. And you know, as always, you continued that streak of addressing issues in the community and informing people. So, you know, I'm always happy. You know, y'all know I fuss behind the scenes.
Yeah, you do.
You do this. You need, you know.
But listen, though, big ups to you, Doc. I mean, everything was smooth. I mean, the live stream and everything was tight work, but we expect nothing less from you. So big ups to you, man, for making, you know, the prime minister and the general always look good, man. Even when we are off our home station of WOKB, you're making us look good everywhere else, man.
Yep, and I appreciate that. And let me tell you, I came away with a newfound respect for Bruce Anton.
Oh man, he did a great job.
Because we've had some conversations in the past, and I've made him mad with me, but you know, he made so much sense yesterday. You know, I think we need to get him on Let's Talk Nation again.
But I remember he guest hosted when Love was out on special assignment, and I mean, you know, listen, he opened up a little bit then too, but he even opened up even more this time.
Yeah, and you know, and the thing is that I'm starting to see him as the blueprint.
Yeah.
I'm starting to really see him as a blueprint.
But Doc, with that, and I think this is what Representative Bruce Anton brought, man, to the table Sunday morning, is one, he did something that when Mayor Jerry Demings was on the show, Mayor Jerry Demings did this, and I mean, he did it like nobody's business when he came on the show, and it wasn't about being the mayor.
Right.
It was about connecting, letting people know who he is and what he's all about. Everybody knows he's the mayor, but man, the way he connect with people to say, hey, look, I don't have to throw any swag around about me being the mayor. Let me tell you what I believe. Let me tell you that I believe that character is not something that should only be seen in the sunlight. Character is what people know and see when nobody's watching you. And what Representative Bruce Anton did Sunday morning, Greg, he showed people who he is, and he talked about his character, but he talked about people and what he wants to do.
Well, the most important thing that I pulled from that, Doc, if you remember, he said that, you know, when issues come up, a lot of times our first instinct is to come out with guns a-blazing, and we don't have a conversation to figure out how do we address this before we pull out the big guns. And his thing is, you know, listen, let's have those behind the scenes conversations before we pull everything to the forefront, because we could probably get more done and bring more to the community than if we just walk in there and just start shooting and looking later. What was that? You remember Bad Boys? And Bad Boys, when they said they got Opie sprayed all over the place, they just walked there shooting all over the place. And that's what you said we can't do. You're going to destroy stuff instead of preserving it.
Hey, but you know
what that tells me? We don't have to worry about him singing "We Shall Overcome" and rolling around on the floor in the chamber. We don't have to worry about Bruce getting on the floor and rolling around.
But you know what Representative Anton bought Sunday morning, Greg, that we hadn't necessarily, I don't think, heard before. He bought a strategy about how to win to serve his constituents. And that strategy, when he laid out the fact that there's even less Democrats in the state house and in the Senate than it was before this recent election. And he talked about how he's going to be able to benefit his constituents by going in and having conversation and negotiating.
Now here's the other thing too, though, Dr. Polite and Brother Love. If y'all remember this, he touched on the topic on yesterday. That is a hot button topic that a lot of politicians are afraid to touch and wouldn't touch. And he talked about the fact that Governor DeSantis declined to make African American history an AP course. And he approached it from a perspective, Lady Drina, that we had not thought about. He said, if you've read the program or what they're proposing for the program, they have things in there that are dealing with issues. I ain't gonna say everything Bruce said now because Bruce is Bruce. But he said they have things in that program that don't necessarily adhere to or address African American history. And so we had a conversation about, and Doc, we talked about this, and Brother Love, we talked about this, about how a lot of times African American or Black issues are hijacked by other people to bring their issues forward and then push our issues behind theirs, and we just let them do it. And he's saying, listen, let's read the whole thing first, because there are things in there that may be hijacking our own agenda and what we want to bring forth in our culture. And he also backed that up with the fact that he's trying to get $30 million to build an African American history museum. So how do you argue with that?
You're right.
Exactly. And this is classic. This has happened more or less since the late 60s to the civil rights process. We get everybody jumps on our bandwagon. We get rules and legislation passed that benefit other people and us last. We have to look at the immigration issue that way. A lot of people don't want to take it that way, but that's literally what it is. We have to look at the gay issue the same way. I have no problem with anybody living their lifestyle, but that's not my issue. My issue is centered on African American needs and wants for our community. I don't need to fight those two battles simultaneously or in conjunction with it. They are very different.
Yeah. Now, and remember too, though, Brother Love, there was an issue that came up to show you how African Americans' issues are either set aside, pushed aside, or hijacked. Remember when you had, I want to say 15,000 Hispanics that were coming across the border. Right. And then you had, maybe 10,000 Haitians, Blacks that were coming across. And they literally blocked the Haitians from getting into this country while the Hispanics were allowed to come. Now, how many, y'all may not remember this, but how many Black legislators spoke out against them stopping the Hispanics from coming across? But when it came time to talk about what was happening with the Haitians that were trying to get into this country the same way,
you didn't see a choir.
They were quiet as church mouse.
You're absolutely correct.
Quiet as church
mouse. But Greg and Doc, let us be strategists.
Yeah.
Let me say this. Do you know what's going to happen to Representative Bruce Antine if he doesn't get the type of backup that because you know what, Greg, we hadn't heard anybody come on any of our platforms anytime. Greg, we've been doing this 5 going on 6 years now.
Yeah.
The talk about the fact that African-American issues get hijacked.
Yeah.
Using the word hijack. Now I'm gonna tell you, and Greg, I'm gonna speak for you on this one too, because I know you and Doc, we gonna all go in on it. But we got to give individuals like Representative Bruce Antine the public support and not, let's say, we're going to support you quietly. No.
Yeah.
I agree with you. We got issues. Hey, look, when we got kids that are being shot and killed in the Black community, and I haven't seen one single dime of Black Lives Matter go into these Black communities to prevent and mentor. And Greg, we were talking about it the other day on Monica's Point of View.
Yeah.
We see mansions being bought
with BLM money.
Yeah. But you know what, man?
We haven't seen any community centers built.
No.
We haven't seen any programs put in place in underserved communities to address the fact that, remember, Doc and Brother, we've been talking about this so much until we just forgot to talk about it again. But the fact that in African-American communities where there's a high instance of violence, it's been shown that young people and adults growing up in those areas suffer from PTSD.
Greg, we got a paper on that.
Yeah, and the fact that if you want to do something good with money that's coming into the African-American community to address Black Lives Mattering.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put our money, or let them put their money where their mouth is, and let's go into these communities and put together community centers, programs. I mean, $2 million is a lot of money. And it's a lot of money to spend on a community center, but it's a whole lot of money to spend on a house.
Greg, let's let folk know that we're not talking theory, because we got a great team around us. Doc Polite and our Miss Nicole knows. We got good researchers.
Brother
Greg,
Armando is in there.
And Brother Armando. But we're talking about the fact that I think, was it closing out 2021 or 2022 that Black Lives Matter closed its books with $80-something million?
Yeah, and show me one place where they have established something for the community that benefits the community.
Let me play some chess, which instead of those.
Now, Doc Polite, y'all know we about to be canceled, right?
Hey,
I just thought y'all know we about to be canceled, right?
Hey, but you know, Greg, does the truth matter? The truth don't matter
to people who want to do the right thing. The truth matters. For people who have an agenda that benefits someone else or themselves solely, the truth doesn't matter.
Hey, you know what? Here's what I'm going to say, because I know Lady Drina, Doc Polite, and I hope I don't say this to say that I am not as well versed, but I'm one that can acknowledge it and be upfront about it. And you, Greg, because you teach Sunday school, but my father-in-law, Reverend King, had 100 Black Men Day over this church center.
Nice.
Pastor Octavius Smith preached. Matter of fact, St. Paul Choir, they did their thing. The men's choir did their thing. But to your point, when you say we're about to be canceled, and this is going to challenge the character of the people that you and I and Doc and everybody else call leaders. Pastor Smith preached this sermon about Moses. And he talked about how Moses, and see, this is where I get a little shaky, but Moses said, hey, there's going to be a fight. I'm going to be there and I'm going to have my staff. I'm going to be with y'all. This army was a superior army. And Moses got up there, man, and every time the pastors say he held his hands up, they were winning. But he got tired.
Yep. So they had
he got tired. And when his arms went down, they started losing.
Yeah.
So guess what?
They had to prop him up.
Hey, they rolled the boulder right behind him so he could sit down.
They had to prop him
and
up.
then when they saw them arms get tired, Greg, and I know somebody gonna call in and they're gonna talk about what that verse is, but when they saw his arms start getting tired again, guess what they did?
What's that?
Each one of them got up on both sides of them. And they held them up.
They held them up.
They held them up. So, Lady Drina.
Yes, sir.
You get the moral of my story. When Greg say we're gonna be canceled, we got a great deal of leaders out there. And if they don't continue to help hold up, not us, let's hold up and do the right thing based on what we're talking about in communities. And it's not just about kids in communities and criminality. Greg and I have had plenty of conversations on, look at all these small businesses that need the opportunity for economic development, creating jobs.
Yeah.
Got to prop them up.
So, Lady Drina, I didn't go over to your church and I didn't go over to St. Paul. I was at St. James.
But you went to church.
But I went to church.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
But
you was communing with the Lord.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Hey, but you know what, man? We definitely got to hold each other up. And Doc, speaking of holding up, because, I mean, we're going to get into a controversial issue in a second here, Greg. Can you tell everybody what the promo is for today's show?
HBCUs.
Man, y'all better get, hey, don't hurt them. We can't hurt them too bad now, Doc. You know I'm happy.
You know what? Listen,
Drina, what's the headline? What's been going on today? Because you know a little something. What's been taking place?
We are at that place where the students at Bethune-Cookman University held a protest today, and I've been catching it all day. Midday, I caught the news, and basically, it seems to be the kids that are there are in support of Ed Reed, but a lot of the alumni are not. And the kids are saying what he's saying is absolutely the truth.
It is absolutely true.
And this is an issue. You know, again, we can throw mud, but this is not a mudslinging conversation. It's really not. It's about what
Solutions.
he needs to do to render this situation null and void, because this is not happening at
FSU. It's not happening at University of Miami.
In Miami.
It's not happening at FIU.
Exactly. So what is it? Now, all three of my kids went to HBCUs, and I can tell you some horror stories. This is a HBCU in Georgia. I'm not going to say the name of the school, but they had a prostitution ring going that the faculty was in on. Okay.
And I hear where you're going, but when we put that promo out today, that promo was about, hey, you know what? We're not just gonna feel those problems and those issues.
Yeah.
When you call the station, call us and tell us about some of those doggone solutions too.
But here's the thing, because Lady Drina, if I can tag you for a minute.
Yes, you can.
You have a daughter who is
not just there for 3 years.
Not just at an HBCU, but
she's at that school.
BCU.
She's at BCU.
And you know, I'm not going to put it all out there, but you came to me about a situation with your daughter at BCU
several
that
times.
I thought
I've
was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've been approached to represent the former Miss BCU. I don't know if y'all knew that or not.
Yeah.
In a proceeding that was ridiculous.
And
so you know firsthand
and
about
some of these
stuff.
Allegations that have come out, they're not new. My daughter's been there for 3 years, and these are things that we've complained about. We literally had to throw a lot of her clothes away, her refrigerator away, and other things because of mold. Her room was covered with mold, and they end up moving her to another room.
Was this one of the new dorms?
This the older dorms.
Okay.
You know, it's one of the older dorms. It used to be a male's dorm, but now they made it into a female's dorm.
Because I heard the new ones weren't much better. That's why
they're not. The new ones are not much better, but the older ones are even worse. Let
me ask this question, and Greg, this is one for you. We've seen and witnessed some celebrity status as it relates to HBCUs. Greg, you're very familiar. Who are some of the celebrities that have their children attending HBCUs?
I mean, there are a number of celebrities. I mean, one of which is, believe it or not, Angelina Jolie.
That's right.
Her daughter is attending Spelman, but then you also have Toni Braxton, whose son is attending Howard University. You have Ludacris. His daughter is attending Spelman. You have Marvin Sapp.
That's right.
The great Marvin Sapp. His son graduated from Morehouse. Common. Yeah. Actually, and here's an interesting story. Common was at FAM when I was at FAM.
Wow.
Many moons ago, and his daughter just recently graduated from Howard University's law school. Big ups to him. He's a sharp guy, and you know, listen, you can judge a tree by its fruit. Remember that. And then Chris Tucker, his son graduated from Morehouse as well, and then Shaquille O'Neal, his son, planning on taking his talents to Tennessee State University. So you have a lot of celebrities that are entrusting their kids. And I mean, even Deion Sanders, before he moved to Colorado, had his son at Jackson State. So there are a lot of folks who want to support, support HBCUs. But then this Ed Reed, but here's the difference now. And y'all hear me on this now.
All right, we're gonna hear you.
I feel Ed Reed. I feel you, dog. I feel you, dog. But there's a time and a place.
Yeah.
And a way.
To do things.
How you do it.
Yeah.
And maybe hold on, wait, Doc. Maybe Doc Polite could go ride around on that golf cart and do what Ed Reed did. But Ed Reed, and looking to represent the school,
he did himself more injustice than
what Ed Reed did.
You're right.
And because I know a lot of the stuff that's happening firsthand, because my daughter's telling me everything and calling me about it. So he went to the officials and the schools to tell them about the concerns that the kids came to him with. Right. And so when he gave all of this information over to them, they did nothing about it. And in the end, they ended up basically telling parents behind his back that he was walking away from the school. And that wasn't the truth.
Yeah.
He wasn't. Yeah. So his lives came in a rebuttal against them, but an exposure as well.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Doc. I cut you off. What were you saying?
And hear me. This seems to be a pattern that we have as African Americans, where we don't want to hold our institutions, our leaders to harsh criticism that's open and plain. Because there's one thing, and the Bible talks about, go to your brother if you have a problem with them and you tell them, right? You tell them. But if they don't repent, then you put it out there. Say this is who they are. And we continue to have less because we are not willing to put people on blast, so to speak. I don't have a problem with what Ed Reed did. Other than the profanity, I don't have a problem with it because Lady Drina's daughter's been there. And she says for 3 years, there's been issues. How long do the issues, how long do the students need to be impacted before there's something done? Because until now, it doesn't seem like they were invested in doing anything different until now they got their feet to the fire and they've been publicly shamed.
Now, I don't disagree with the fact that it should come out. But let's look at the example of Deion Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Deion Sanders was going through even worse stuff than what Ed Reed was going through at Jackson State University. And Deion Sanders, he was quiet, he bided his time. And now Deion Sanders again, how much a year?
5 point some odd million.
And he's able to impact these young men's lives on a grander scale. Now, Ed Reed.
That is true because Deion did fix that school without anybody knowing. He had money sent to that school and a lot of stuff got there.
His salary went to the school.
Ed Reed may not get that chance now because of how because now they're going to do him like they did Brian Flores. Mm-hmm. Y'all remember Brian Flores?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
Brian Flores got now. Where's Brian Flores coaching right now? Which NFL team is he the head coach of now?
None. None.
There's a way to handle things. I'm not saying that this should not have come out. And this is the other thing too, though, but look, that I question. Who are the board of trustees at Bethune-Cookman University? And
one is a judge.
I know that, and I can't say nothing. You understand?
Yeah.
Why aren't they being vocal about what's taking place with the institution that they have been tagged or asked to oversee the betterment of not just the school, but the students of the school that they're trustees of? Why does it take Ed Reed to stand on top of his head to bring these issues forward? Why isn't the board of trustees or board of directors behind the scene putting their foot in somebody's Johnny Quarters hind parts about how these students, because Lady Junior, you're 100% right. This is not a secret about what's taking place at BCU. And if I know it and don't go to BCU and my daughter doesn't go to BCU, none of my kids have been to BCU, and I know the issues, I know the trustees have to know that
they know. And when they had Dr. Crite, which Dr. Crite was the president for a while, when they had him, he put things into play to fix the conditions. But they didn't do right by him. They lost the best thing they had when they lost him.
But it should not take embarrassing situations. I mean, the beginning of the season, half the team wasn't eligible, and we're not talking. That was that
you talking about FAMU?
Yeah, FAMU.
It's embarrassing.
You're listening to
very embarrassing.
I can say it's embarrassing.
You're listening to Let's Talk Nation with Greg Jackson and Rod Love. We want you to tune in.
Hey, listen! Don't you call me by that? Now I'm the general.
The general. Okay, you listen. Hey, but you know what? Call in and let us hear what you have to say. We're looking for solutions, but we can't deal with solutions without identifying the problem.
Hold on. We know the problem. Doc told us when he first said it. Here in the African American community, we don't want no one to know what's going on in our house. So we don't say anything. We cover up the abuse. We cover up the misappropriation of funds. We cover up all of this stuff because in the Black community, we have been trained to not talk about what's taking place in the house. That's the reason why 85% of African Americans are Democrat and won't vote anything except a Democrat, even when the Democratic Party misuses us. We are trained not to say anything.
Hey, man, we're not in church, but I'm going to say amen.
I'm going to second that amen.
Doc, you hit it.
We got to make sure we let our audience weigh in, too. Hey, the phone number to dial in is area code 407-894-1680.
What's the topic? Tell them the topic.
Hey, the topic is, how can we address these critical issues at HBCUs. And it's not just Ed Reed. We just talked about the situation that took place at FAM. We can't keep going on like this, expecting anything to get better. 407-894-1680.
Here's my solution. How do we begin a process of holding these schools and these institutions to accountability? What do we have in place that checks these what's going on? Is that because they almost lost their accreditation. So who is checking to ensure that these institutions are meeting a standard of conduct and fiscal responsibility?
That's a great question.
Well as caring for these students, because having a child live in a dorm with mold is a health risk.
Yeah.
It should be the trustee board. That's who it should be. It should be the trustee board because they are trusted, right?
That's right.
They are trusted to run this organization the way Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune left it.
That's right.
It should be them. It should be them, but we also should, but they're a private entity, right?
Yeah.
They're privately owned.
But they get federal funds.
And they get federal funds. So why don't the federal funds, the people that's behind giving them the money, start doing checks once a year?
You know what? You mentioned something. You mentioned something, Lady Drina. And I would say this. I did not know the great late Mary McLeod Bethune, but I would venture to say that if she knew how these kids were living and how these kids were being treated, that she would be standing on top of her head saying, this is not what I envisioned when I started this great institution. Why are they not living up to the aims of this great lady who had to beg, borrow, steal, put her life on the line? The Klan came there, wanted to run her out, who stood up for these kids, stood up for them, put her life on the line for these kids, and they can't even give them basic living.
Hey, you know what? You know what? Just had somebody chime in, and Greg, Doc, think about this.
We're about to be canceled.
No. And I'm not gonna.
Don't you say that else, Lady Drina. You don't start a shine.
And let me say this. And I want to say thank you to. I'm not gonna mention the person's name, but when there was a major funding scandal at UCF, you know what was the motivator to check UCF to do things accordingly and in order?
No, what's that?
The financial funding that they received. The state swooped down. And before you knew it, this was regarding all the different buildings that were being constructed.
Oh, yeah, I remember that now.
You remember? Yeah. And so, Doc, when you and Lady Drina talk about what are the checks and balances to make sure that, and Greg, you reference, federal funding is one of them.
Yeah.
But funding is coming from so many different conduits that is one of the ways that you check this.
And here's the other thing too. Even in looking at this, I heard or I saw someone say in one of the comment boxes that these schools aren't getting the money. Now, Doc, I know you ain't gonna like it when I bring this up because I'm about to talk about your best friend. I'm about to talk about Donald Trump, and I'm gonna ask my good friend to my left, how much money did Donald Trump set aside, and what did he do that had never or had rarely been done for HBCUs?
Hey, and you know what, Greg? That is a heck of a doggone point. I don't remember the dollar sign, but he actually earmarked so that HBCUs didn't have to go back on a year-to-year basis. Recurring funding. Yes.
That means a long, long time.
I know we're going to have somebody do a Google on that because, Greg, the amount was significant.
Yeah.
It really was. I remember that.
250 million each year.
Listen. So people can't. The only difference between I want y'all to really truly think about this. One of the major differences between how much money a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution, and an HBCU gets is what their alumni do. I want y'all to think about that.
Yeah,
it's not the federal funding. Because for all practical purposes, they're equal footing in terms of the federal or the state funding that they get. The primary difference between how much PWIs and HBCUs are able to do for their students is the alumni association.
Let me break that down into some plain doggone English, Greg, because basically I hear what you're saying, but we need for folk to understand what you're saying. When folk talk about the resources that HBCU don't have, what they're not saying is the difference between that and PYWs is the fact that alumni,
PWIs.
You
about to say PYT, pretty much thing. We ain't gonna let you do that. Hey, you got your model so hey, you got his model something else. Hey, you got his model something else.
Hey, Brother Shaw, see how you do me? But Brother Shaw, it's a significant difference in terms of the financing and the funding the schools get.
But it's from the individuals who support the school. So I'm gonna listen. Let me be the first to point my finger at myself, and I'm gonna say this. My money in terms of alumni funds goes to FSU. I'm sorry, and I apologize. I am a FAMU rattler. That's my first school. My aunt was the oldest living graduate of FAMU at one point in time at 100 years old. I grew up going on the set as a kid. But my experience at FAMU, Brother Love, if it's one thing, and I tell anybody else, my wife say, if it's one thing that FAMU taught me how to do, and that's survive. Now, FSU gave me some tools that I do all right. FAMU put me in a position where I had to learn how to survive because I was putting up with so much stuff every single day.
And our purpose, go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
Listen, I'm glad you brought that up because I listened to a podcast this morning of HBCU graduates, and that was exactly what they said. Because of the way that they were treated while they attended school and struggled, and many of them had issues, they don't feel a connection or obligation to give back. Yeah. And I had never thought of that. And I can understand that. If you can't take pride in your school, if you in survival mode the whole 4 years you're there, you're not going to have a fond memory of that place. So you may be that person that say, you know what, let me go support my kid's school or this school, something that where you see value added. But think about it. These kids are having they're scholarship students. Okay. They lied to Ed Reed about the number of scholarships they had. They didn't have the $8 million to pay him.
Wow.
All of these things are factors in that. And we can't just dismiss that. They're already starting a relationship off on a very dishonest and bad setting.
Yeah.
You can't expect to be dishonest and disrespectful to a person and they just roll over and keep accepting it. And this is what this man came out the gate dealing with.
And Dr. White, they also went behind his back and went to those parents.
Yeah.
You killed his character to these parents. That's saying
true. That is true.
He did this and he did this and this is why he's gone. And that wasn't true.
And he even said that his own nephew had transferred to come to BCU because
he was there.
And because, he represented to his nephew, he went into some of the parents' home and said, I'm going to be you're right.
And so let me ask this question, because Greg, I know you and Doc and everybody else also saw when former NFL running back Edgerrin James walked the campus with Ed Reed and the articles that followed the next day. That
Deion Sanders supporting him.
Yeah, Deion Sanders supporting him. And then they, having a conversation, which is in print, that Shaq, they were bringing some folk to the table to invest in the universities. And so one of the big questions now is, where do you go from here? Because a lot of things are being exposed. How do you go in and fix the problem? And I think you mentioned it, Doc mentioned it. It's the responsibility of the Board of Trustees.
Well, because what's going to happen is, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen is, they're going to get very tight-lipped, and they're going to become very, very protective over who they allow in, so that person doesn't come out and do what Ed Reed has done. I don't think the situation is going to be better because of what Ed Reed did. I know that it has brought some exposure for a temporary time period, but I don't think that it's going to change the culture at BCU. And similar to, my alma mater, FAMU. FAMU was known for reallocating positions instead of getting rid of people who should not have been there.
Did I hear smile in your face?
What's that? That's a song?
you know Brother Shaw back.
Oh. That's what they do. Smile in your face. Yes, they do.
What they doing? Backstabbers.
No, listen. But that's what. Listen, I don't see any change coming in the near future unless and until they get a trustee board who really and truly
that can be held accountable.
That can be held accountable and really and truly has an understanding of the needs of those kids going to the school, and not just on a board for their own edification. Sometimes people get on things because they want to big up themselves. Sometimes you have to sometimes you got to take a step back and not big up yourself, but big up the situation. And until we get people to move aside and say, you know what, let me get someone here that can handle this and that wants to do this, it's not going to change.
I think it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
Because you got to look at it this way. Who's going to come there and coach? What students are going to play there? Because you know, based on what has transpired, that the faculty and the board of trustees are going to get somebody that they can control.
Yeah, exactly.
And who toes the line, and more than likely the top tier coaches and candidates are going to avoid it like the plague.
But Doc, I hear and understand what you're saying. And Greg, this goes back to your point. I think you can no longer circle the wagons.
No,
you can't continue to circle the wagons. Now it's going to come a point in time, especially with having these kind of conversations and the fact that this is going to impact student enrollment, not just at BCU, but across the board, because everybody's talking about this right now. And boy, folk are having these conversations about HBCUs across the board. And it's not our intention to negatively impact HBCUs.
But we got to start having these conversations. Correct. We have to stop being afraid to say when something's not right.
Because we never have these conversations.
We cannot point the finger at people at the Black community and say, you know what, the problem with the Black community is that we don't talk about issues when they come about, and then we sit here and don't say nothing.
Period. That's good.
So that is what's taking place tonight. But again, you can't circle the wagons and get out of this problem.
But hold on, Brother Love.
And think about it though. Like my daughter, that's my oldest child. That's my first child of college. You think I'm gonna send another child?
Oh.
You get what I'm saying?
You're looking at UCF now.
What? You're not doing that, you know?
UCF. But listen, Brother Love, I never thought that I would say this, Dr. Polite. I don't want y'all to hear me when I say this. I never thought I'd say this. But we got a lot of scary people in Let's Talk Nation, Brother Love.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you why we got a lot of scary people, Brother Love. You've given out the number. You put out the challenge to say, call in and let's have this conversation. And no one in Let's Talk Nation has picked up the phone. So listen, as the general, sometimes I got to just step out there and say, look at troops. I don't need no cowards in the foxhole. You understand what I'm saying?
407 1680.
Don't tell them the number.
Hey, we gotta get some callers in here now.
They don't need to know the number. Listen, let me tell you something. Let's Talk Nation. We don't need no cowards in the foxhole. We talking about these big issues, and when we talk about making change in communities, we can't do it by sitting back and being quiet because the conversation is uncomfortable. We have to be willing to step out and have these conversations in order for there to be change. Because if nothing changes, it ain't because me and Brother Love and Doc Polite ain't saying nothing. It's because when we rally, and Let's Talk Nation, y'all have done this to us one time before. When we went up to the city of Apopka, we said we need y'all to come out here to change the community and help do this and do that. Let's Talk Nation, don't y'all disappoint me. Don't y'all disappoint me now, Let's Talk Nation. But it looks like we have a caller on the line. Calling on live with Brother Love, Greg Jackson, Brother Love, the General. I can't even call myself Greg, the General. Doc Polite, Lady Drina, and everybody else in the studio tonight. Let's talk about it. How you doing?
Good.
Oh, I didn't think I was going to hear me. I didn't think I was going to rally you up.
How's it going, Alfred?
I started talking about people at the mayor calls.
Well, you guys got a meaty subject. I want to just break it up just a little bit.
Okay.
But want to bring up a couple of things for your discussion. We want to let you know we've got a diversity contractor event coming up next Tuesday at 1:00 for city contracts as well as some of the big developers in the Apopka area. They're looking for these local independent Black, white, Hispanic businesses, women businesses that want to be a part of what's going on in Apopka. So
what's the location, Mr. Mayor?
Next Tuesday at 1:00 at the VFW.
Okay.
So any small contractors out there looking for work, we got hundreds of millions of dollars worth of projects, coming out of the ground, and so we're looking for those contractors that can, fill those needs.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I have it on good authority now that Ed Reed is looking for a football coaching job. I got any football coaching positions over there?
Hey, Greg, do they still have a
That
football
was hilarious. That was good.
Hey, Lady Drina, you know who the mayor supports, right? You know what football team he supports.
Who does the mayor support?
The Seminoles.
yes.
Seminoles.
Hey, Brother Shaw, it's not the Seminoles. It's not the Seminoles. You know it's them Gators. But I didn't know they still had a football team in the state of Florida, Greg.
Who?
Them Gators.
Oh, thank you, Brother Love. Hey, see how they cut you deep, Mayor. Hey, see how they cut you deep, Mayor.
Hey, man, you know what? The mayor, you know, because we got a hot topic that we're talking about. But Greg, the mayor's calling in because this morphs off into something that you and I have been talking about.
Yeah.
And the mayor's been economic development, small
absolutely.
business development. And if you have Mr. Mayor, do they need to bring any credentials? What do they need to be prepared to bring coming to this diversity? What is it called? Diversity Summit?
It's a diversity summit on job growth.
Nice.
Nice. We're looking, we're going to be taking names, businesses, so that the city has a pretty nice website that we will, let's just say that you do sidewalks, you do driveways, you do roofs. When your specialty comes up under a contract for the city, you'll automatically get notified. Hey, are you interested in bidding on this roof or this sidewalk or this, the plumbing, and you'll automatically get it. And then what we're trying to do is something similar to that with the private sector, is that they can come in there and put it out there, find out who's out there that wants some work, and let's turn these things into small businesses
awesome.
here in the Apopka area.
Hey, Doc Polite, do you think we can go ahead and get that streaming across the bottom of the page? It's going to be at 1:00 at the VFW
next Thursday, right?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
And Mayor, let me clear the air, because I don't want to leave you with this, because you're a good man. I'm not going to do this to you. But Mayor Nelson is a huge Gator fan. He is a Bull Gator. And probably the only person who's a bigger Gator fan than Mayor Nelson that I know is my dad. So I'm not. I know I rib you a lot, but I'm not going to do that to you and leave you and let you leave the air like that. You are a huge Gator fan. You're a great individual, despite who you cheer for. I like you. I love you. Listen, I want the Gators to know that you are secure in being a Bull Gator. I don't want them to take that from you.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, before we let you go, and we appreciate this diversity summit next Tuesday at 1 p.m. But also, can you let people know about your Youth Works that's going to be taking place?
About our what now?
Youth Works, the youth employment program.
Oh yeah, the summer program. We're looking for any of the high schools in the area. I think last year we had about 130 kids that we put through it. We got 3 different tracks, depending on whether you know what you want to do, whether you don't know what you want to do. But we're going to start out. The first week will be like soft trainings. How do you agree to customer? How do you take bad news from your boss? How do you, how to dress? How to just act.
Nice.
And so those are the kind of things we want to do in that first week. And then the second week, depending on where you want to go, maybe you love retail, maybe you love, IT. We're going to try to hook you up with a job that fits what you think you want. If you don't, we've got a kind of a track is here's 50 different things. We're going to give you an hour on each one of them. Hopefully you'll figure out something, or if nothing more, eliminate things that you don't like, after having a little more information.
Okay, and Mr. Mayor, this is in partnership with local businesses as well as Career Source, right?
Correct. So we need employees, we need juniors and seniors, and we need employers that want to help us. And it's free to the employer. The kids are free. They're paid for out of Career Source, so it doesn't cost you the employer anything. But what we expect from you is to give them feedback, good or bad. That hey, here's what you need to get here at 8 o'clock. The job starts at 8, not 8:05, not 8:10. And that cell phone needs to be in your back pocket until you're done, or at lunchtime, and those kind of things. And then conversely, they want to get something. They want you to help them, to grow in knowledge and grow in a career choice maybe. Now,
and is this for businesses restricted to the city of Apopka, or can it be a business that borders the city of Apopka, i.e. like Altamont Springs?
Greater Apopka. It doesn't have to be. Yeah, it doesn't have to be Apopka city. No, it can be Greater Apopka area.
Okay,
that's good to know.
Mr. Mayor, before we let you go, and one of the things that motivate folk, do you know what they're going to be paying per hour?
I think it's $15 an hour.
Oh, there you go.
Hey,
there you have it.
Greg, Greg, hey, General.
Yep.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
this is something Let's Talk Nation can partnership with the city with getting the word out.
Listen,
Yep,
absolutely,
we
absolutely.
appreciate that. Yep.
Hey,
yep.
Mr.
And then
Merrick.
the last thing is everybody's got on their calendar March 25th, the Apopka International Jazz Fest.
That's right.
I hope.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Hey,
So-
Mr. Mayor, we appreciate, man, you always supporting the show
Absolutely.
and what you're doing, man,
Yes,
in the
sir.
community. Keep up the great work.
You got it, man. Thanks, guys.
That's my mayor.
Keep up the good work.
Yes, sir.
That's your man, Lady
Yeah,
Drina.
Lady Drina said that's my
Hey,
man.
hey, you know, Greg is in the city. Greg been in the city now. How many years now, Greg?
It's only been 4 years, but you know, I've been in the city participating and going to
Oh, you've been
church for
active,
almost
yeah.
15 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, I have been in the city for over 20 years.
Oh, so you got
Okay,
Thank
so
you. That's
so-
my mayor.
all right. So then let me trump you. I've
Uh-oh.
only been living there 14 years, but my wife grew up there. My father-in-law grew up there, so they got plenty of time to.
My daddy lived there.
Oh, so she trumped me.
Yeah,
Nah.
you
All right,
can't-
I surrender. Hey, somebody, Robert Actor, I know you were asking what's the number to the show? 407
It's in the stream, but yeah. go get it.
894-1680. 407-894-1680.
So, you know, let's we appreciate Mayor Nelson for, giving us some good information to take us a little bit off the topic, just to give us a moment to breathe.
The breeze, huh?
Because we were getting hot up in here. Because I was talking about Let's Talk Nation. So Let's Talk Nation, you got the number. But Dr. Polite, what else do you think can be done to address it? We already talked about accountability through a trustee board. I think that the Alumni Association should stop being so protective over these things and just saying, "Oh, don't talk about my school."
Mhm.
If your school is doing the wrong thing and you want a better legacy for your school,
Or alumni, go and do visits of your school.
Yeah.
Go and do visits. Go do walkthroughs
Yeah.
and see
Yeah.
what's happening, and then talk. But this pride that they have in not giving back to the school,
Yeah.
you shouldn't even carry pride if you're not giving back.
Lady Drina, you know something that's been very, very successful when you really want to know what's happening is when you, like you say, go to the people, but do a listening tour. You don't have to talk much. Listen.
but they're not going to do it. So listen, in order for a listening tour to be effective, the leadership at BCU or any HBCU or any school, I'm not going to restrict it to any school right now, but in order to be effective, the people have to actually want to get out there and hear what these students are saying. And if they're not willing to hear what the students and parents are saying, what alumni are saying, then it's still not going to be effective. So there has to be, it's a leadership issue. It's a trustee issue. And my bad, Doc, I cut you off. I was asking you, what else do you think could be done?
Well, this is indicative of our social grouping upbringing.
Mm.
And we talked about this earlier when you said that we are taught to keep stuff in the house.
Yep.
We've got to get past that dynamic. And we've got to see where our problems are and have meaningful, solution-based conversations that improve that. Okay? The faculty and the trustees can't get defensive. They need to have an empathetic ear to what these parents and what the kids are saying that impacts them. And then say, how can we fix this? How can we work together to fix it? And that goes on in a lot of African-American dynamics. We don't have those conversations. We don't want to have, we avoid that because it's emotional or it can be confrontational. And we don't do well with conflict resolution. We're not taught that in our culture to really deal with conflict resolution. So when our problems come up, we tend to turn a blind eye or we don't want to talk about it. We just kind of sweep it under the rug and hope to get better. And
Great.
Or we just pray about it.
Yeah. Hey, General, you and I, we moderated a District 5 City of Orlando candidates forum. I think we could moderate a listening to it, don't you think?
HBCU listening to it. Yeah. I think that can happen.
If you're on the board of trustees, and I don't know how that process works, but we're listening. We're ready to do it.
Doc, like he don't believe it. He ain't got no faith in that.
Listen, I don't, and I'm sorry to laugh like that, but it's some groundwork and it's some preparatory work that needs to be done, and that's just real.
Yeah,
there's some work that needs to be done. I would say even to the point of why not form a partnership with faith leaders and have them come in as mediators and start the process.
Now, you know what? Doctor said something I ain't never think I
Hey, I was just going to say that. hey,
that jacket that changed.
When that came out of his mouth, you and I know Dr. Polite, his feelings about that.
Yeah, wait a minute. But again, not polite.
And like my friend Rod always tells me, they're the number one institution in our community that can reach people.
That is true.
So
it's still true.
You use the tools in your toolkit. You don't have to like that tool.
Man,
but you can
I was looking at Doc when he said that. I'm like, man, invasion of the body snatchers, man, for Doc.
Hey, man, what you did with Doc? Bring Doc polite, man.
You know, I tell y'all all the time what I know go on behind the scene.
Yeah.
Doc feelings ain't coming. I don't just have emotional feelings. There is a causation for everything that I have a viewpoint on. And this is a much needed conversation, and we did offer some solutions. But again, I'm like the general. Let's Talk Nation. Y'all need to step up. Y'all are the ones.
Go ahead. Sorry, Doc. Sorry.
Who really need to help fix this problem? All of us collectively. Yeah. All ideas are welcome.
But let's wrap this up and put a nice, pretty bow on top, Doc, because. You know, Brother Love and I and you, we've been hitting HBCUs pretty hard. But again, what we want to point out is this, and it even tells you this in the Bible for my Bible thumpers out there. Iron sharpens iron. Now, what that means is that iron doesn't rub up against a soft surface in order to get sharp. It rubs up against a rough surface in order to get sharper and better. And so this conversation is iron sharpening iron. We have to continue to have these hard conversations, these tough conversations in order to get stronger and to get better. So, you know, we're talking about HBCUs. Yes, we've spoken about BCU and we've talked about FAMU, but it's not a conversation to say that there's no use for these institutions in our community because they serve an absolutely fantastic purpose. But the other thing too, though, Doc and Brother Love, is that when we first started talking, we opened up kind of with the number of African-American celebrities whose children go to HBCUs. Now, we named off some people, but Lady Drina, it's a doggone shame that it's not more people on that list.
That is. Wow.
And it's the reason that they're not on that list because they know about the history and the reputation of HBCUs and how kids are treated there. What if they did kids and treated kids the way that other institutions treated them? And I hate to compare it this way. How much higher could the enrollment rates go at HBCUs? How much greater could these institutions be? As great as they're already great, don't get me wrong, but how much greater could they be?
You're right. And when we are sitting here, Greg, and we're listening to Lady Drina, this is a parent that has a child, a young adult.
But listen, I got one at the HBCU.
Man.
And it is not without challenge. I'll tell you that right now. It is not without challenge.
Hey, Brother Jackson, we have a call on the line. I know we're winding down. Caller, are you there?
What's up, Brother Love?
Hey, man, that's Brother Actor there. How you doing this evening, brother? Hey, give us some of your insights, brother.
Hey, man, I'm not coming on to rattle any cages or anything like that, but y'all will talk about something that's near and dear to me because, you know, I coached at UCF. I played the game. Heck, I played against Rod Love in high school, but I think one of the biggest things and I think that you guys hit on this is that the buy-in from alumni. Everybody could get up for the FAMU BCU game, but everybody can't get up for helping the facilities and doing the things that they need to do to generate. I mean, let's just look at what Dion did, and everybody's mad at Dion because he left and went on to a white university, but the man gave up half his salary.
You're right.
College broken in 3 or 4 times. You know, so we got to be willing as Black alumni to have that same energy with our KA side, our AKA. We got to have that same energy on trying to build and grow the university by providing funds. I mean, I look at my university, which is University of Central Florida. How do we become the second largest university in the nation?
The alumni.
And we started started way behind all these HBCUs.
Yeah. The alumni for UCF is ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
I mean, the money that they give back, and some of the guys that I played with that has moved on, that comes back and give money back to the program. It's unbelievable. Our facilities, when I started playing at UCF, we were working out of a locker room.
Mm. Hey, brother Actor,
That was the bathroom for the gym.
Hey, brother Actor, I hate to do this to you, but you're listening to Robert Actor, man, good man. We're a few minutes before we call in on this. Dial off on the show. But brother Actor, we appreciate you calling in. Next time, call in before 3 minutes before the show right over with.
But he made a good point because
I got you, man. I'm sorry I joined late, but I
made great points though, brother.
Yeah, outstanding points. But listen, think about stadiums and think about facilities that are built. 9 times out of 10, they're built by the alumni.
But Eck hit it right on the head, Greg.
Yeah,
you could go to the Classic.
Yeah, you can stand there and say how my school the best, my school it is that. But how much money you put into
money you put in the university? Well, Eck hit it right. Hey, what a way to close though.
Listen, everybody cannot be like Rob Hardy and Will Packer, who put $1 million to the school. But we can try.
Hey, General, this was a great conversation tonight, man. You do not have to go home,
but you got to get out of here.
Until next Monday on Let's Talk Nation. Hey, please join us. Great conversation.
Thanks, Dr. Polite.
Appreciate you.